feels a bit like Christmas actually this morning. I've got 2 parcels arrived here of flour from ship to mill, so that's my preferred flour I use these days. I buy in bulk probably every 3 or 4 months. I'll spend £30 and get a whole selection of different flours to kind of keep me baking through the weeks. So I'll show you what we've got now. This is the first parcel here, and what have we got in here? So what we've got in here, so this is a great one here, general baking. So this is an organic, stone ground, strongest wholemeal flour, so it's got a good protein content to it. Great for making wholemeal sourdough loaves, highly recommended there. Use that, you can use it 100%, or you can kind of go half and half with that and bread flour. Different things you can make up there. Put that to one side. And what have we got? Another one there the same. Okay, so this is really a staple. I buy this in bulk, normally in about a 15 kilogram bag. So this is the organic white flour number 4, 1 kilogram. This is a great general purpose flour to use for sourdough baking. So I very rarely use 100% white flour. I normally kind of have a mix of whole grains and white flour. But if you want to have a special loaf that you want to kind of bring out for a bit like a ciabatta or whatever, or some kind of a pizza base, then this is really great. But use this pretty much every time in varying degrees. But great flour, organic as well. And what else have we got in here to look at? Okay, here's the other one that I think is become one of my favourites as well, is organic dark rye flour. This I use on my starters, so if you want to produce a starter like this, nice and aerated and beautiful, this is made from the organic dark rye flour. So lovely kind of nutty flavour to it. I wouldn't use 100% in life. I would put a percentage of maybe 30, 40, 50% maximum of dark rye to other flours or to a bread flour. But it gives it a very distinctive flavour and also very healthy as well. So I try and use as much organic dark rye as I can in my baking, and as I say, always use this for my lovely starters. And the last one I've got on here now as well is, this is a bran flour, shipped to mill. So this is a 3 malts and sunflower. So malted flour has, it's a grain or a flour that's soaked and left for a while until it gets like a malty flavour to it. If you're out and about and you want to try malted flour, I'm sure if you find a sourdough artisan bakery somewhere, they'll have a malted bread to try. So give it a try. I like it, and it's also nice to have some variety. And also it's a wholemeal flour as well, so really good and healthy and very tasty. So I think it's about all I've got in the box there. So those are the different flours I use. So not a huge range, but enough to kind of give me the ability to make a lot of different loaves with a lot of different flavours, all pretty healthy. So much to mention really is if you're making bread, it's great to be able to add nuts and seeds to it. So I tend to use, firstly again, I buy these in bulk. So things like this. So buy a big bag, 2 kilograms of organic pumpkin seeds. It works out really cheap. It's really the way to go if you're going to be using this regularly, and it brings the cost down for your pumpkin seeds down to a few pence rather than a few pounds if you buy at the supermarket. I'll do the same for things like organic sunflower seeds as well. I've got over there. Bran as well. Bran's great to put on top of your loaf, give it a nice kind of textured finish to it, things like that. So what I'm going to do as well now is, after I finish this, I'm going to go away and talk about loaves that I've made in the past and what kind of flours I've used in that. So I'll talk about say dark rye breads that I've made, talk a bit about how much I put in there, how to handle it. Same thing if I'm using one of my favourites, which is the organic stone ground wholemeal flour. That's a great one. I'll show you different varieties and different ratios to use of that when you're baking, and also how I mix in seeds as well. So I've got a whole selection of different seeds that I use. Again, as I say, I buy them in bulk to keep it cheap. And we spend probably about £35 every 4 months on flours and seeds. So that means for us, it works out roughly, depending on the different loaf types, about between 50 and 70 pence a loaf to make. That's a 1 kilogram loaf, so that's a large loaf. I mean, that might cost you £8. in an artisan bakery. So it's actually a really good price. You know, obviously you're going to make it yourselves, and there is some time factor in there. They take about 8 minutes to make a loaf of bread of actual time making bread. So I'll go through with the various loaves that I've made and talk about how to produce those yourselves and what flour's in there, things to think about, things to kind of, focus on. And I would say to anybody who's just starting off baking, really, if you're starting off baking, then start off really with pretty much 100% strong organic white bread flour. This will give you the most immediate results, and you'll learn a lot about the technique of making sourdough, and you'll make lovely loaves of bread that you'll enjoy. And as you get more confident, then start moving into kind of bringing in more and more of organic dark rye flours, and also stone ground wholemeal flour as well. So that's a good tip there. Start off with ones that you know you're going to get some good results or easier to make, and then build up from there. So I'll stop here now, and I'll go away, and I'll get some history there of what I've made previously, and talk about how I've actually made those and what goes into them. So this is a beautiful rye and spelted barley loaf I made this morning. So I'm just going to kind of show you. I started it already because I just couldn't resist it. It looked really so good. So I cut the end of it off to taste it. But I'll just show you now. I'll cut a few more pieces and show you. So this is kind of a reasonably heavy kind of loaf because it's 400 grams of rye, 200 grams of bread flour, and also the malted barley in there as well, with a bran topping on it, just bran flakes on there. So a really healthy loaf, should be really tasty. So just cut a few pieces just to show you. This is going to be actually lunch today, so I can show you this, and then I'll use the bread for my lunch straight after. So that's really beautiful. This is what I'm kind of hoping for, is a rye loaf that's going to be very tasty, beautiful. That's really kind of what we're looking for there. It's going to, I know it's going to taste great. It's kind of fresh from the oven as well, even better. And there you go. That's a rye spelted barley loaf, one of my favourites. Now I can eat it. So here's a selection of some of the sourdough breads I like to make. Most of the breads I make are kind of more on the wholemeal side, so using kind of whole grains, rye flours, spelted flours, and quite a lot of nuts and seeds. So if you look through here, you'll see quite a selection here of different types. So I haven't gone into detail. I've just kind of given a brief overview of the content of wholemeal flours in there, a little bit about the ingredients on there. But if there are some loaves there that you're interested in, you'd like to make yourselves, I'm really happy to make a video on making one of these specialty loaves. They're really fun to make, really tasty, really healthy, and I'd really kind of recommend playing around with whole grain flours and getting something really tasty that you enjoy. So that's it really for this video. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at different flour types and what you can do with them. So again, thanks for coming on to my channel on My Discovery Days, and I hope to see you soon. And please subscribe and like this channel, and I'll keep on making new videos. So thanks very much.